Hi everyone! Welcome back to another video. I'm going to be doing 3-Looks-1 palette again. I've turned my ISO down. I think it should look a little better now. Let me know what you guys think, but I'm going to be using the other palette I got in the July sale from Natasha Denona, which is the Biba palette. She had the Biba and the Trio-Chrome packaged together, and those were two palettes that I've been trying to buy on sale forever since they came out, years back. So this is the first one. I've already filmed 3-Looks-1 palette with Trio-Chrome that is going to already be up, so I'm doing Biba next. Mine came a little bit battered, as you can see. I did try my best to clean it, but there's some smudging, but that's alright. I'm just really happy I have this in my collection. I'm well aware of how redundant this is, but I still really like that I have it. I'm sure you guys understand. So I think for my first look, I'm just going to do something easy that is warm toned, kind of like my comfort zone look. So I'm going to start off with this shade right here. Maybe I'll kind of stick to this quad over here. I'm not sure yet. And I used the NARS Smudge Proof base today in light. It's actually surprisingly good. I thought I would hate it when I first got it. When I first got it, I only got it because it was 10x points, I think. And when it arrived in the mail, I was like, wait, why the heck did I buy this? But actually, I really like it. I don't use it during the winter though. It's too much during the winter, but I do enjoy it during the summer. It is slightly grippy, so I'm not gonna worry about blending this out yet. I'm also using a very dense brush. It almost is kind of like it is like a finger kind of shaped brush. Refer sent me a couple more brushes to test. Okay, and then I'm going to start working that onto the lower lash line. I currently have Xenoblade 3 soundtrack stuck in my head. I've just been playing Xenoblade 3 all week. And now I'm going to use this shade down here to kind of blend it out a little bit. It's similar to the color of my skin. And I do want to go deeper than this for sure. I just wanted to make sure I had things under control first. So now I'm going to start darkening up this look. So I want to test out this cream to powder shade here. I always am eager to test out her cream to powders. I know it feels okay in pastel. This came out before pastel, but still I'm interested in seeing how it turns out on my eye. I think the biggest thing to know about her cream to powder is that it's not really uncommon for them to darker in the pan than on your eye, so just kind of don't be too surprised if that happens to you. This one feels kind of a little bit softer, it crumbles on my brush a little, so if I'm not careful I'm getting some fallout. So this is definitely kind of different from the other cream to powders I've tried. I don't know if it's a bad thing though. I mean, if you just tap off the excess it looks okay. So I am tapping off the excess to ensure that I don't get any fallout. Yeah, I like this so far. I'm hesitant to go much deeper than that just because that is kind of one of the darker mattes in this palette. If I want to go deeper, I'd start kind of edging closer to using the blacks and stuff. Okay, well I swatched the darker brown next to the shade I just used, and actually you can really see how the cream to powder looks darker in pan. And this is the darkest brown matte. So I'm going to use this dark brown matte, which is in the bottom left corner of the palette. I'm going to use that to add some depth because actually I think that'll work really well. I'm just gonna drop it right here. At the time that I'm filming this, the Kathleen Lights and Il Maquillage collab was teased, and initially I was really interested in it, and it probably wouldn't surprise you guys to hear why. It's because of the way she was kind of talking about the shimmer formulas. It immediately grabbed my interest, and then I saw the prices and I was just like, oh, you're kidding. I mean, I'm sure it'll sell out anyways, but I can't spend that kind of money. I don't want to put on too much. I'm trying to keep it slightly under control. Kind of doing a vertical gradient. Yeah, I like how that added just a little bit of depth to the ends of my eyes, and that's it. I usually would bring my eyeshadow further up, but I'm kind of liking how it's looking right now. Okay, I really want to try out these shimmers, so I'm going to take... Ooh, thunder outside. I'm going to take this shade up here, and I'm going to drop this on the center of my lid. And I'm gonna do thin layers to build it up just so that I can blend it out, because I want it to be on the center of my lid and that's it. I don't want it to kind of jump anywhere else. Okay, so I've laid it down with my finger. I'm not gonna go in with a brush. I love how it looks so far. It's not like the shiniest metallic in the world, but it has this really pretty translucency to it that really allows you to see the colors underneath, which really suits this palette. So I more or less did bring that shimmer all the way up to my brow bone, but it's so kind of glittery that it looks really good that way. And now I'm gonna put some on my lower lash line. I'm not putting as much as I usually do. That's what the eyes are looking like so far, so all I need now is going to be an inner corner highlight, so I'm going to work on that. And I'm going to, I think this shade here is the lightest shade in this palette, so I'm going to use that. I think you guys are going to see that shade. If it's the lightest shade in this palette, I think you guys might see this shade pop up a lot in this video series. Yep, this is a really pretty champagne. Has a very sparkly finish to it as well. Ooh, this is so pretty. It's like smoothing, but it has sparkle to it at the same time. Little like individual flecks that are different colors. You guys are probably gonna see this in all three looks and I'm not going to apologize. I really like how this look turned out. I'm going to put on, well, it's not gonna be easy for me to remove and it is late at night, but I'm just gonna put on some mascara. And that way you guys can see this look with just mascara. I'll try and keep my lashes as natural as possible for 2 of the looks in this video, and then I'll wear lashes for the 3rd one just because I feel like in the context of this palette, I don't think a lot of people would wear this palette with false lashes. So I'm hoping I can get my lashes permed sometime soonish. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I have a lot of life update videos that I needed to make that I haven't gotten around to yet. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is gonna be the finished look. It is just so simple and easy, and it's so pretty, this is really all I really wanted out of the Biba palette. Is I just wanted to feel so pretty and such a simple low-key makeup look, and I love it. I am just wearing mascara today. I think my Rapid Lash Serum is finally kicking in because my lashes are looking a little bit better than they used to, so hopefully I can get them permed soon. But in the meantime, I just used a waterproof mascara from Holika. Yeah, I love how everything turned out. I love how I looked right now. I feel really pretty, which is good because I've had a very stressful day. Jackson needs to go to the vet on Monday, and I'm just like, I was literally just about to shop the Charlotte Tilbury summer sale, and now I can't. It happens. Jackson's more important. Yeah, I just put some brown liner from Benefit on the inner corners of my eyes. That's it. I didn't even want to put eyeliner on today because I wanted to preserve the way the eyeshadow looks, and I just am so thoroughly in love with this. Now, am I glad I didn't pay $129 for this, especially given that the shimmers are honestly a little bit more understated? Yeah, I am. I definitely wouldn't pay $129 for Biba, because especially full size, like if Biba was $65, I would have an easier time justifying it. So I'm very glad I got them both as like a bundle. So I ended up paying closer to like $65 each, as opposed, so I got them almost half off. And I think for that is a sweet deal. Considering that I really want Lunar Beauty Nude Prism and Glaminatrix Nearly Natural, you know, there's so much better options for neutral palettes. Even if you still stick to higher price brackets, you're still going to get really great quality without needing to shell out $129. So if you're gonna get Biba, just wait for it to go on sale. That's kind of my first thoughts just using this palette for the first time ever. I knew I was gonna like it, but I'm definitely glad I didn't buy it full price. That's gonna be look number 1. So we're gonna move on to look number 2. You'll see that in a few seconds, and I'll be filming it the next day after this. Hello, I'm back for look number 2. I have my base on, my brows on, eye primer, and I already did go ahead and put on bronzer because I used a cream bronzer. And I'm thinking I'm going to fuss around with the gray trio down here. Super predictable, I know, like so creative, but I still really want to play around with it, and I might add like a warm tinge to the outer part to blend it and to kind of just inject a little warmth into it so it doesn't look completely like dead on me, but I think that's what we're gonna try. I'm going to start off with this shade here. This is a cream to powder shade. Black is also cream to powder, which is really cool and one of the reasons I wanted Biba, and then this is just powder. So I'm gonna start off with this. I am a little nervous. I'm always a little nervous when I do gray toned smoky eyes. I really want to try it. I haven't done one in a really long time, so. I'm using the Jaclyn First Base eye primer today. I bought it for like $7, I think. The eye primer fiend in me wants to try it because I'm always on the hunt for a perfect eye primer for dry eyelids. I'm glad I didn't pay full price for it. I think it's just okay. It doesn't dry out my eyelids though, so I can't complain there. Yeah, so the cream to powders in this palette feel a lot more crumbly than the cream to powders in retro or pastel. So I feel like I have to be careful because otherwise I'm gonna get fallout. I don't know if that's because this is an older palette, so it was just sitting on a shelf in the warehouse for longer or what, but just an observation. And I'm gonna blend it out later, so I'm just gonna let it set down for a little bit. The little crumble parts do spread very readily though, so even though I'm laying down these big, what looks like crumbs of eyeshadow, once I press it down with my brush, it blends out and spreads across my eyelid very quickly. So it's not really a big deal. It's just kind of strange, I guess. I definitely don't recall having this problem with retro or pastel. Those both did come out after Biba, so it could also just be an instance of like her formula's gotten better since then. I'm always jealous of people who have more space between their eye and their brow. I'm gonna take Tusk, which is kind of a light brown. I'm not gonna use that. I'm gonna use something else. I'm gonna take Prairie, which is kind of like a nice warm brown. It has a lot of like yellow in it. Okay, yeah, that's much better. And this is I'm gonna blend it out, and it's just gonna add a nice warm accent to the look. It also helps it mesh better with my skin tone. Grays don't always look super great on my undertones, but add a little bit of warmth to it and it looks way better. Now I'm gonna go back into that gray from earlier and just kind of start meshing the two together better. I just completely like made such a harsh line. My goodness, that was an accident. I'm going to start using Sculpture, which is that powder gray. I'm going to use that to try and go over this part because oh my goodness, that was a mistake. This is just gonna keep escalating, isn't it? That's about as good as I think I'm gonna get it. Oh well. I think it'll look better once I put the black on. See, I didn't do that for this eye. I don't know what came over me. Okay, now I'm gonna go back into Sculpture and I'm gonna start working on the lower lash line. So I'm gonna use this on the lower lash line. I'm gonna blow it out a little bit and try not to look like a zombie in the process. Okay, I don't think I look too much like a zombie. Maybe a little bit like a zombie, like 1% zombie. I'm gonna use a smaller brush and I'm going to go back into Prairie and I'm going to use that to blend out the lower lash line. Looking good so far. So now I want to use the black and I'm kind of scared. So I think I'm actually going to try using my fingers to put it on because it's just got that nice cream to powder texture that I think will lend itself well to finger application. And I'm going to just treat it like I'm treating a shimmer and I'm going to smudge it all over my eyelid and diffuse it up and out. Yeah, I actually really like how that goes on with a finger. It's actually really easy to use that way. I don't feel like I'm getting it to build up to like a true black, but I'm not necessarily like super fussed about that. Yeah, that looks really good that way actually. The only thing is that you do lose a lot of precision, so I'm having to like really be careful. Okay, yeah. It's a little bit messy, but I'll clean it up. Okay, so now I'm going to use that same tiny Hakuhodo brush and I'm going to go into Sculpture and I'm going to use Sculpture to blend everything, to blend out the black. This eye is honestly pretty good. I don't need to do much with that, but this eye needs a little bit of help. And then I'm going to go in with a flat brush and I think my left eye needs to be touched up on spot just a little bit. I didn't get it quite as dark. I started applying it with my right hand finger and I shouldn't have done that because that meant that I didn't have as much control than if I had used my left hand for my left eye, which is what I usually do. Okay, and then I'm just going to dab a little tiny bit onto my right eye. Yeah, see, now it's really darkening up, so it definitely is really buildable, which is really awesome. It's definitely going to be a really easy black to work with. I don't feel like I'm like super in love with the shape of the eyeshadow, but that's okay. I shouldn't have put it so high here. I should have sloped it more. Now it just kind of, I feel like it's just not really, I feel like it looks kind of weird. I'm gonna add a slight wing shape to the eyeshadow. Just kind of sharpens it up a little bit in the outer corners. And then I'm going to find a very tiny brush and I'm going to start working that black on the outer corner of my lower lash line. And I literally like poked it into the pan. I didn't even swirl, didn't even rub. I just dabbed the pan because I don't want to get black everywhere. And I do think I'm going to take a little bit even more prairie and just really make sure it's nice and touched up on the outer part. Okay, so I think that's about as good as I'm going to get the black. I definitely should have used my left finger because I have some kind of irregularities here I can't quite work out, but I think I'm going to call that good for now though, because honestly from far away it looks fine. I'm gonna put on some shimmers because right now if I look down I look like I have a black hole in my eyes, so a little bit of shimmer is going to add a little bit more life into this eye look. And so I'm gonna take this one and I'm going to apply it very lightly, like kind of like a glitter topper almost. I just want to add a little bit of sparkle. So it's called Monroe. I don't want it to like completely cover up the eye look, but I just want it to glow a little bit. This is definitely a very like matte focused palette, so it's a great range of neutral mattes. And ordinarily for this eye look I probably would use a shimmery kind of glittery topper from somewhere else, but I'm just using this palette for this video. And then I'm gonna take Monroe and I'm gonna put that on the inner corner as well, just because this is kind of the default inner corner highlight. And as an inner corner shade, Monroe is just amazing. It's a little bit boring on the lid, as you can see. It's not as glittery sparkly as I would prefer for this kind of eye look, but as an inner corner highlight on bare skin, oh my goodness, it is just so gorgeous. Alright, so I'm gonna call the eye look done here. I'm gonna put on some false lashes. This look kind of demands them, and then I'll finish with the rest of my makeup and I'll be right back. Here's gonna be my finished makeup look. As you can see, very super duper smoky. I do really like how it turned out. As usual, I think I took the dark eyeshadow up too high, so it kind of creates this odd, it makes my eyes look really weirdly shaped. Like from this angle it looks alright, but I need to like, you know, I need to like change the shape a little bit because my eyes are so weirdly triangular. So I feel like I brought the dark shade up too high, or I left this too low. If I had, you know, kind of slanted it upwards a little bit more, it probably would have flattered me a bit better, but that's completely besides the point. Other than that, I think this eye look is really fun. I had a lot of fun putting it together, and I definitely really enjoyed working, especially with that black color spot. It was just so easy to put on with a finger and then blend out with a brush, and so I think it's going to be one of the more friendly blacks to work with. And it wasn't really, when I was using a brush, it didn't crumble as bad as the other two cream to powders in that palette, so the black in particular just seems especially well done, which is good because it's a black. So I do really like that. It's going to be one of the most unique black shades in my collection, so I look forward to having it and being able to use it in the future. But as for the rest of this look, I kept everything pretty basic. Because the eyes are so big, I could either go with like a nude lip, but I wanted to go with a darker lip because I just really like darker lips. It lets me contour my lips a little bit more. So that's what I went with, and I kept everything else on the fairly like kind of just normal, predictable, kind of just common side, I guess you could say. I am going to be seeing my parents for dinner, so I'm going to surprise them a little bit. My mom is like super used to seeing me show up at the door with like ridiculous eye looks because I film and then I go to her house, and she's just used to it at this point. She thinks it's funny. But oh, and I did put eyeliner on my inner corners, and I did put it across my waterline, so my eyes are nice and defined today to match with the smoky eye. But yeah, we'll move on to the third look now. Hi everyone, I'm back for look number 3, and here we are. I'm just gonna go ahead and start off with this. I do like working dark to light with Natasha Denona's mattes. I don't like layering mattes if I can help it. So I'm going to form the shape like that. As I said, none of the looks in all 3 of these are necessarily super complicated or revolutionary. I feel like they're honestly pretty run-of-the-mill, but that's kind of the beauty of this palette. It's not really meant to be used for anything complicated. I'm sorry, I'm going to try and denoise it a little bit, but I just realized my air filter was still running in the background. I do keep an air filter running behind my makeup desk 24/7 when I'm not at it and not filming, to keep as much cat hair off my products as possible, and I just forgot to turn it off because I get so accustomed to the noise. I do want to get nicer air filters someday. I've seen some really nice ones online, but they're like 5 or 6 times more expensive than the ones that I have. Like I have 2 that were each like $60, and then I saw some online that were like almost 500. That's a little bit steep, but I do think it'll be worth the investment someday. I do want to get a third air filter so I can have one running in my bedroom as well, because right now I have one upstairs and then I used to have one in my bedroom, but I moved it to be my makeup air filter. And I think for the third one, when I do get around to getting it, I'm just going to go ahead and let that be the expensive one so I can kind of start updating them that way. And if I like it, I'll see. Maybe I'll like rotate which one where it is. Depends on how heavy it is, I guess. And as you can see, I did so little blending, but it already kind of is starting to blend itself. I used the Urban Decay Anti-Aging Potion Primer, which I think is finally starting to dry out on me. I wasn't able to get as much on my eyelid as I usually do. I definitely didn't use up the whole thing because I don't use it that often. I've used it maybe a grand total of like 50 times. More than that, maybe 75 times. That's still definitely not enough uses to empty it though, so it's just drying out. I don't think I'm gonna repurchase it. I have other eye primers I do like more right now. It was like literally the first one I ever bought because my sister swears by the Urban Decay normal primer potion, but that dried my eyelids out, so I gave it to her and I got the anti-aging one. And I really liked it when I first tried it because other primers I use now didn't exist yet. I wish Urban Decay had kept it in a tube. It would have made much more sense. I love how this looks. So I'm gonna now go into Freckle, which is over here. This one. And I can't tell if Cocoa is much darker than the shade I first laid down. So I'm switching to a bigger brush and I'm going to use this. This is still darker than my skin tone, so I'm going to still apply it with some caution, as much as I can manage. This is a Hakuhodo G5533N. So soft. I definitely think of all the natural hair brushes I've tried, Hakuhodo is among the softest. So if you have super sensitive eyelids or really dry eyelids, you definitely look into Hakuhodo. I know after their price increase, they're not as affordable compared to other fude brushes as they used to be, but I still think it's really good. I made a huge order from them in May, right before their price increase. I've been planning it for a while and I just had kept forgetting to do it, and so I finally remembered literally like the last week of May. I think I must have bought like almost $300 of brushes from them, but I knew I needed to get on it before they got more expensive. I love every single one I got too. I got duplicates of some of my favorites, so like that's how you know I really like them. That's what that's looking like, and then I'm going to go into Cocoa. I'm just going to use this to kind of add some more dimensionality, and I also just kind of want to see what this looks like, I mean, because I haven't used it yet. So I think I'll slip it up here, kind of between the first shade and then the light shade. Okay, so I just realized, so because I'm trying to control this with my iPad, I just realized that I wasn't filming because if the iPad goes to sleep, then it will stop filming, and then when I turn my iPad back on, I thought I was clicking the film button, but I forgot to change the tab to the movie icon, so it wasn't filming at all. So let me quickly explain to you what I did. So basically what happened was I realized I hadn't used Tone yet, which is this shade right here. It's a cream to powder shade, so I'm gonna swatch it for you guys on my finger. So here is what Tone looks like. You can see it there. It's actually a kind of a milky orange color. It's so pretty actually. And I put it on the inner part of my eyelid, and I put it also, I'll kind of dot it again. I put it like kind of across my lower lash line, like right here. I got some on my contact lens. Kind of like that. You can see how that looks really pretty. And the reason that I wanted to try it is because I didn't want to publish this video not having used one of the cream to powders, because the cream to powders can be a super contentious formula for Natasha Denona. So personally, my experience with this was that with a finger, it worked amazing. So all of the cream to powders in this palette are super finger friendly, which is definitely a running theme with her cream to powders, but even more so for this one, they're so good for just finger painting on. Rayon and Tor were very crumbly with a brush. I had a lot of trouble with them with the brush, got some fallout, and like they would get like little, like, you know, larger balls of product. I'd have to like work harder to blend out. Spot was okay with a brush, but still had some crumbliness. But when I used Tone with a brush, I used a flat brush to apply it to my lower lash line, so I was, you know, digging into the pan. No crumbling at all, came off really nicely, no fallout, no balling up of the product, no giant chunks being flown everywhere. So I think Tone is going to be the best cream to powder formula in this entire palette. But overall, if you're using your finger, then, or if you just use like the flatter end of a flat brush and are gentle with how you put the product on, you're going to have a really great great experience. So that's kind of my mini review on the cream to powder formulas in this palette. I do think they're honestly pretty good. Okay, so moving on, I said I was going to use Rustic. I think it might be a little bit darker than might be fitting, but I'll kind of start with it closer to my lash line so that if it is darker, I can at least like kind of smoke it out as opposed to putting it right in the middle and then freaking out. So we're gonna start with that. Yeah, I'm really sorry about the lost footage. It's bound to happen to anybody who films for anything. It's bound to happen to you eventually, so I knew it would eventually be my time. My apologies. I hope my explanation made sense. I am using it dry. I could probably wet it, but I'll wet it for the other eye. How about that? I'm just gonna apply it all across the lower part, kind of like a vertical gradient situation, like that. And I'm also gonna put it on my lower lash line here. Okay, and now for my other side, I'm gonna use Fix Plus from MAC, which is my preferred brush wetter. I don't feel like it is any better. I might have gotten it too wet. Let me dry it off a little bit. I don't think it makes a difference wet or dry. And it is not like ultra shiny, so it's pretty subdued anyways. Definitely really great, like really fitting to like the all neutral theme. But for me, this is gonna kind of be like, oh, it's a little bit boring. The shimmers in this palette are definitely kind of low-key. So on my finger, it looks like this. So let me see if I can maybe just dab a little more on with my finger. That helped a little bit. Yeah, the shimmers in this palette are super just kind of low-key. And so it's a good thing that there's only 3. Because aside from the light one, I'm probably not going to use them very often. Speaking of, I'm going to do my inner corner highlight. Monroe and Shine are both just beautiful for the inner corner for me. Pearlescence of them and how soft and smooth they are is just beautiful for inner corner work. So Rustic being not my favorite is easily overlooked when the rest of this palette is pretty much spot on. And then I do think I could use a little bit of some dimensionality, so I'm going to take Shine on my finger. I'm just going to very lightly dab it over my eyelid in the center just for a little bit of extra shine. I like how translucent Shine is. It makes it very versatile, so I feel like I can use it on its own or as a topper. Okay, so this is gonna be the eye look completed. Sorry again for the missing footage. It was bound to happen eventually, but this is gonna be what it looks like. I do think it looks, all things considered, pretty good. It took me well under 15 minutes to put this together. I'm very pleased with that. I definitely can say that these are some really easy mattes to work with overall. So I'm gonna put on the rest of my makeup and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is going to be the finished look. I struggled a little. I'm trying a new foundation that I was so excited for, but I am pretty disappointed in this. I indulged in the Sephora 20% off sale and I got the Lancome Teint Idole Care and Glow. I do really like the original Teint Idole. It's not my shade. It oxidizes a shade down and it got really orange on me, so I am just not a fan of how my skin's looking right now. I also have been having a slew of texture and breakouts and I have so many little teeny tiny micro bumps on this side of my face that I feel like whatever I put on my face emphasizes everything right here. I have not had a good start with this, and I bought it for only 20% off, so it was still not cheap, and I'm really disappointed in it. I'm not a happy camper on that. But to sum up my thoughts with Biba, I really like it, but I'm glad I got it on sale. So I got it for about 40% off, and I think that is a really great price for me to buy in. I'm happy about that. Would have loved to get it half off, but that's rare coming from Natasha. So 40% off, I'm satisfied. I definitely would not have wanted to buy this at full price, which is why I held off on so long. I knew if I bought it at full price, I'd feel like I was wasting my money. So depending on what you're looking for, depending on what kind of collector you are, if you want it or not, it's completely up to you. However, if you do choose to get it, I think you will find the quality really nice. Just be aware that I find the cream to powder shades work best with a finger. With a finger, they are really just brain dead easy to use, but if you're using a blending brush to swirl into the pan, and arguably the black one, are gonna crumble a little bit. So if you're gonna use a brush with the cream to powder shades, I would highly recommend you take a flat brush and press into the pan. Press gently as if you're pressing your finger into the pan to prevent crumbling so that it applies smoothly and without any sort of bunching up or without any fallout or chunks. If I was a depotting person, which I'm not because I'm an eyeshadow palette collector, but if I was a depotting person, I would definitely have like a palette full of all of my favorite inner corner shades, and those two would go in there because as inner corner shades I'm just absolutely delighted, or on the Aegyo style I'm over the moon with those two, so those two almost make it worth the entire buy for me personally. But yeah, I had a very pleasurable experience working with the mattes. So easy to use, as is usually par for the course with her mattes. So I can say the palette gets thumbs up from me. I hope this helps you guys. I know it's an older palette, so a lot of you might have already made the decision by now if you want it or not, but given that it went on sale, it looks like it might go on sale more often in the future, which opens up more people to be able to consider it. So that's going to be my thoughts on the matter. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll be back with more multiple looks one palette soon. I got a couple more I want to run through. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.